श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्। शङ्कारूपेण मच्चित्तं पङ्कीकृतमबूध्यया किङ्करीयस्य सा माया शङ्कराचार्यमाश्रयेत्. I know that this shloka I always like, and we both try to recall. Shankarupena machittam panki krutam abhudhyaya. Say that my mind is muddied with all the doubts. So that is, I think, is a very apt reflection of our state of mind. Kinkari yasya sa maya. The one who has made Maya is Kinkari means completely under control. That Shankaracharya we are taking refuge in to get answers to the question that we have today is AI relevant for today, and what role can it play in dharmic knowledge, arts, culture, and media? In that context, again, now we are trying to take over the world, right? Digital colonization. So this message, again, is a reminder that we need to spread the word of friendliness, Maitri. That is what is this starting invocation.
So this is a Maitri Bhajata. I think some of you must have already known. It is a piece as part of the world peace. It was sung in United Nations by M. Rajalakshmi, and it's written by Raghavan on the blessings of Jagat Guru Sri Chandrasekhara Saraswati. So we'll start with that. Maitri Bhajata Akil Hrijetri Maitri Bhajata Akil Hrijetri Atmavadeva Parayanapi Pashyata Atmavadeva Parayanapi Pashyata Yuddham Tejata Spardham Tejata Yuddham Tejata Spardham Tejata Tejata Pareshwar Ramamakramanam Tejata Pareshwar Ramamakramanam Maitri Bhajata Akila Hrijetri Janani Prithvi Kamadhukaste Janani Prithvi Kamadhukaste Janako Devah Sakala Dayalu Janako Devah Sakala Dayalu Damyata Datta Dayadvam Janata Damyata Datta Dayadvam Janata Shreyo Bhuyat Sakala Jananam Shreyo Bhuyat Sakala Jananam Shreyo Bhuyat Sakala Jananam Shreyo Bhuyat Sakala Jananam Shreyo Bhuyat Sakala Jananam.
So basically, we are really going to go fast in terms of the number of slides that we are going to review, leaving ample time for us to review the key concepts. Overall, the presentation is going to be like this, right? We'll talk about AI capabilities, demystifying few key terms, Then we'll talk about what is Sanskrit and what is Indic knowledge system. This word is being tossed around. We just wanted to make sure that we kind of peel those layers. And what is the biggest threat that we have is the digital colonization. So we'll touch on it. And cultural integrity. How do we check, is this AI with the right kind of Atma? Does it have the same values as my Sanatana Dharma and whatever you call it, IKS, which is sometimes each one has their own definition? And what is the AI Dharmic roadmap? Unless we kind of think through it, put forward the roadmap, you will not be able to follow through. So typically, people talk about few words. Do you want to touch on them
Sure. I
briefly?
think most of you may have already started using AI and also may have, I mean, everywhere when you hear it is called AI everywhere. The AI hype is there. So we just want to start a quick overview of what are some of the terms, what it means, and what it actually we want to demystify it as. So as you all know, there's a hallucination, and mostly when we do the use the AI, it may have some glitches. People think that it is hallucinating or it is not getting the proper algorithm or making it a mistake. But actually, the reality is the LLM or the large language models uh, are usually fed with lots of data, and if the data is not trained properly, it tries to look for it, and when it doesn't look, it gives a very confident answer, and that is a term. It's called in scientific, computer engineers, they call that as confabulation. And because it is not that it is AI is experiencing any glitch or it is it's like a it's trying to understand, but instead of giving, like, if you don't know something, we as human beings, we try to say I think we don't know, or we say I don't know clearly, right? But AI doesn't do that. It tries to make up something and gives it a very confident answer, which basically it will be a plausibly nonsense, right? So we just wanted to make sure that the different terms of hallucination and confabulation.
And also make sure that, so when you ask AI, you think that AI knows because it's giving you a confident response when it comes to dharmic matters. You tend to think that, okay, now this is true, but not necessary. And that not necessary is not a glitch, but it is by design.
Okay.
Okay.
Then we can see, we'll look into the what is AGI or the artificial general intelligence. And I think most of you have already used, I use it on a daily basis, and AI does excellent things. Like when you want to get things faster or try to find things and or to do poetry or to debug or to write a narration or to have an introduction about this course or about myself or any of those things. So it does great things, but we need to make sure we need to be cognizant that we need to think that it's not like it's a superhuman type of a thing. It is still, though the hype and what we see in movies, it's not that we went to the extent of sci-fi fiction. It is still a very weak, narrow AI, and even the most advanced models are just extremely versatile pattern matchers. That means it is trained to get the next best word or the next best action, which in whichever thing. To be honest, I am leading marketing technology, and we are still trying to see what is the next best action a consumer can do when they go online. And we are using lots of other technologies. And to be honest, I can say that I'm one of the biggest bank. We're still not able to find the solution yet, a right solution to get the next best action a consumer can do. So based on that, we can propose proper campaigns and all. So basically, I just want to make sure, though it may not know any unfamiliar domains, um, we need to make sure that whatever the AI which we have, it's not still at the stage of artificial general intelligence. That means it is not even to the level of an human beings general intelligence.
So basically, we are at a very early, narrow, primitive AI stage. and that is way below the level of human intelligence. That's one thing. So we talked about hallucination was one thing that is really the nature of current AI, and it is at a very narrow early stages. It's not at human level of intelligence. Next one is
Yeah, next one is artificial super intelligence. So again, we may think based on how the hype and all the communications which is going on, like any conference we go, any whether it's technology or non-technology, what the word comes is AI, and there's a pressure to use AI, and there is a feeling that if I don't use AI, I'm losing it. Yes, it is good to know, but not necessarily. It is at the level of super intelligence. That means it is not even, as I mentioned before, it is not even at the level of humans, level of intelligence, leave alone the super intelligence, right? So it is, the reality is that's the case. And then the next one I want to do is the scholastic parrot. You want to go on the next one?
yes.
So when I say super intelligence, I also want to give an example. For example, um, we don't want, okay, I'll give that example later. Scholastic parrot is like, it's a highly technical insult used by the AI skeptics. People confuse that with simple plagiarism or like copywriting and pasting. But the reality is it is coined by, I think, what's his name? Emily Redder, as AI researcher. It describes the fundamental nature of the LLM. That means it process in one governed by random probability. It is all based on the random probability. And sometimes the probability, again, it depends upon the data it is trained and how much of data. So for example, our Sanatan Dharma, if you Google anything or if you try to AI in which of the other, all of the AI tools, if when you try to prompt or ask question, it gives based upon how much the data is it's been trained for, and based on our small research which we found that the cloud it seems to be little better in even answering in Sanskrit or even any of the any of the mother tongue Indian languages. So finally, I just want to make sure that we do have a, many think AI alignment is just meaning like programming the robots with the rules, and like don't hurt human or something, or making sure that an AI doesn't swear words. But actually, it can do little more than that. Like it can cause little more than just being in a language wise swearing or any of those things. It can really become the real Frankenstein. Say, for example, if you say that let's reduce the pollution of the world, and it can find out that the pollution is caused by what, and it can find that of course humans do the most of the pollution, and it can end up trying to come hurt the human race itself in trying to reduce the pollution. So we need to make sure we have a proper alignment of it. And talking about Sanatan Dharma, as I mentioned before, there's not a lot of data, it's been trained yet, and so don't totally depend on it, AI. And whenever you want to know about Sanatan Dharma, especially, people go and check with an English language. And of course, most of the AI models, as I mentioned, cloud is good in languages, whether mother tongue, whether if you have Hindi or Telugu or any of those things, it's able to reply in that language, but not necessarily every time it is able to write the proper script or is able to interpret properly. So we need to make sure we have the real alignment when we use AI. And at the same time, we may need to feed more data for it. So make use of it, but may try to input or train it and give more data. So in that way, the right data is available for it to be trained. So
Thank
those
you.
are the overview of some of the terms. I think most of you may know, but I thought it's a good refresher.
Yeah, any questions here, please feel free. We have a very small, intimate group. We can have it engaging. But next one is now we learned about hallucination is reality. AI is at a very narrow, primitive stage. It's not even at human level of intelligence, which is artificial general intelligence. Forget about ASI. And alignment is very important. Now let's kind of pivot back to what is Sanatana Dharma. What is our learning philosophy? What is our core fundamental connection of knowledge, what basis we say that whether AI can be helpful or detrimental for Dharmic knowledge study, right? Let's talk about Sanskritam a little bit. So we'll go one step at a time. First one is for us, the learning philosophy is Vidya Dadhati Vinayam, Vinayatvat Patrata, Patratvat Dhanamapnoti, Danena Dharmam Sukham. First, why are we learning? Is for us Vinayam. That means when you translate into obedience, though no, that is not the meaning just to begin with. Vinaya means vi upasarga na dhatu aya. So Vinaya is a very noble, righteous, dharmic way of living. So first of all, whenever we say that about Sanatana Dharma, we say that it is way of life. Vinaya means to have a noble character driven and based on that lifestyle, right? Once you your education instills those values and you are living with those values, Vinayatvat patrata, you become eligible for what? Patratvat dhanamapnoti, to earn money. Dhanena, why are you again earning money? Is to live a dharmic, righteous life. So that again, when I say that dharma, satyam, ahimsa, asteyam, shaucham is what is the four kind of legs of dharma, which is the Nandi standing in front of Shiva, right? First of all, Satyam, we will touch on it. Sarva Bhuta Hitartha Bhashanameva Satyam. So anything that you say that it has to be universal good. So that is the kind of life that you want to lead, and you are earning money for that. Whenever we touch on Ramayana or Kalidasa Raghuvamsham, these are the kind of virtues they are living by. So, Dhanena Dharmam Sukham. Sukham is given when it is not like bodily pleasure. So, does your AI follow this kind of outlook for knowledge? That is a litmus test you have to do. Then our learning methodology is there, right? Acharya padam adatte padam shishya swamedhaya padam saha vidyardinaha padam kala kramena cha. You get a seed, which is quarter, padam is quarter from Acharya. Then that seed, you have to use your own contemplation and grow it to 50%. Shishya swamedhaya. We all thought that this is a good time to spend together talking and thinking about it. Padam Sahavidyardinaha, because always your learning really gets the right amrutam from it when it is in a peer group that is really poking, thought provoking, and it's also testing and questioning our thoughts. So, such a peer group, but does it happen overnight? Kalakramena. What does Kalakramena? Patanjali in his Yoga Sutra says that Saha tu dirgha kala nairantarya satkara asevito druda bhumi. His strong foundation is laid when you consistently, without a grab, do. This applies to any body of knowledge, right? Does your AI align to this kind of a philosophy? Then learn and earn as if there is no aging and death. Ajara amaravat pragno, this sloka. Vidyam ardhancha sadayet grihita iva kesheshu mrutyuna dharmamacharet. Learning and earning, we say that there is no age limit. Do it as if there is no aging or death.
Yeah, that
But
means you can learn even when you're old. Like I think generally people think, okay, I finished my education, I started my job, now I don't need to study anything. Actually, what in our philosophy it says is you can learn not only the Laukika Vidya, of course you need to learn this Vidya, which is Guhya Vidya, which I'm not sure which you all know. Our Vidya or knowledge is divided into majorly two categories. It's Prakta Vidya and Guhya Vidya. Prakta Vidya is all the education which we are all learning.
sensory knowledge.
Sensory knowledge.
Yeah.
And Guhya Vidya is something extra sensory knowledge which we cannot sense or feel with our five senses.
So
which is
that's
difficult to learn, which is difficult to understand. But then that's what you need to start at an early age, not at the age when you're trying to be on the bed, or basically at the age when you're old. It is something you need to have that learning early, and which we don't have it in our structurally knowledge educational system. So that's why we thought we are doing this kind of sessions, right? So
yeah, so basically what Raji is touching on is, does your AI agree that the knowledge is in two parts? One is sensory, and there is a significant knowledge which is extrasensory. And that one, we all are familiar with these terms, but we never kind of sit down and pay attention, right? That extrasensory knowledge we further divide into Guhya, Guhyatara, Guhyatama, subtle, subtler, and subtlest. In Bhagavad Gita, to Arjuna, Bhagavan says that Guhya Tamam iti Shastram. So does your AI accept? Because we have even day-to-day living things, right? Sky is blue. We say that no, sky is blue. We use it, but sky is not blue. We know. But is it sensorily perceivable every day? No. Sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Is it really? Is there rising and setting for sun? No. But is it sensorily perceivable? No. We travel a lot on the road, most of you, right? Have you ever experienced Earth to be spherical? So these are all not sensorily, but we actually take the Shastra Pramanam. Just like Bhagavan is saying, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam te Karyakari Vivarjito. But does your AI accept that there is ultimate reality which is beyond sensory perception? These examples we all know because we kind of heard about this. But when you go deep into the Shastra, there are areas that you will come into that. How do you take? Okay, sensorily, can you prove it? Can I not prove it? Proof in what realm? Sensory realm. So this is very important. And again, most important is our learning philosophy continues. It is not, okay, now I need the knowledge at the time of use is not our way of knowledge acquisition, right? Pustakastatu ya vidya परहस्तेषु यद्धनं कार्यकाले समायाते न सा विद्या न तद्धनम्. So the knowledge in the book, my money in your pocket, is really not useful at the time of the need. So internalized knowledge, we talk all like muscle memory, right? Like a lot of times it has to become your muscle memory. That's what even in Laukika. So that means it has become a part of you, and you can deploy that knowledge at any time without having to trigger. Does this align with your AI engine? And we will have a very quick premiere on Sanskritam. Just so, does your AI believe that Sanskritam is invented by Panini? Then you have to dump that AI immediately, because Panini was a grammarian who wanted to make the knowledge of Sanskritam easy for people like us, because Sanskritam is Anantam, that we even in our AI project we can take up in Q&A, right? We have a project called Samskritamrutam. When we kind of start building that 22 upasargas here, the Sanskritam is a very Lego based one. That root is called dhatu for kriya padam, nouns, and you have upasarga, it's called prefix. 22 upasargas are there, so it can be 22 factorial. And then pratyaya is there, that is the suffix. If you kind of do this, you can keep building new words and long words, and you can create new words that are meaningful to others. That is why Sanskrit dictionaries is not something all inclusive, all encompassing. You cannot have. That's why we have aneka koshas for that bodies of knowledge. For each body of knowledge, like we keep talking about, right? Like Ayurveda, you have one.
yeah, for Nyaya Shastra, the definition, the same definition, for example, Dharma in Nyaya Shastra is different. And then you in Advaita is different. So there is this differences in which body of knowledge you are going through.
Yeah.
So that's why we have dictionaries or koshas in each of
them. Does your AI understand that? So when
And at the same time, there's a multiple meanings for the same word,
contextual, see, this is
contextual.
very important. In AI says that it is all about context. If you don't set the context, your AI is going to be garbage in, garbage out. What it is saying.
Dolphins usually you think it is like an animal, like a goat, but then it also has another name,
Called
meaning.
Brahma.
Brahma.
So intonation is important, right? Like we have Anudatta, Udatta, Swarita. If small intonation changes, that Brahma can become goat and goat can become Brahma. So that is how subtle our knowledge is there. It can lead to significant misinterpretation. So just a quick look at Panini. Panini was this compassionate teacher who wanted to make Sanskritam learning easy and simplified. So his guru said that go and meditate on Shiva. So when he is meditating on Shiva, so the thing is Shiva plays the Dhamaru. Nruttavasane Nataraja Rajo Nanadadakkam Navapanchavaram Uddhattu Kamaha Sanakadi Siddhan Edad Vimarshe Shiva Sutra Jalam. So he said, I un rulruk eong ayauch ayavaratalan yamangananam jabhai gadadasha jabagadadasha kapha chatata chatatava kaphai shashasara hal. Why are we saying this? Because Sanskritam is the mother of all languages. If you, well, I know quite a few of you are familiar with Hindi and Telugu. In both, we use the word ach. Where is this word ach came from? Ach and Telugulo, we call it lu, achulu. So in Maheshwara Sutra, that is the Dhamaru played by Shiva, is called Shiva Sutra or Maheshwara Sutra. I un. A is the start. Rulruk yeong ayau ch. That starting is a, ending is ch. That set of letters between a and ch are called ach or achulu. They are in a slightly different order than we traditionally learn. But this is the superset and subset combination using which Panini has composed 4,000 grammar rules. It's called Ashtadhyayi. So Panini Ashtadhyayi is based on this one. So if you don't set the context, and is Panini the only grammarian? We talk about Hanuman and say that he is a Navavyakarana Pandita. So next you can see here, right? Aindram Chandram Kashakrutsram Kaumaram Shakatayanam Saraswatam Cha Apishalam Shakalam Paniniyakam. Panini is the ninth grammarian, we say, but he actually respects to 80 plus grammarians in his work. So this is something that we need to say that our is a cyclical thought process. We don't have this linear, you only live once. If your AI is thinking that about whether it is Sanskritam or any form of knowledge, then you will be chasing this timeline game. When did this start? Who invented this? Who started this? This one. That's why, like, we have to start basic study of Sanskritam, Sanskritena Samskriti. If we don't do it, Panini sets this all right at his starting of Paniniya Shiksha. He says that प्रसिद्धमपि शब्दार्थम अविज्ञातम अबुद्धिभिः पुनर्व्यक्तीकरिष्यामि वाच उच्चारणे विधिम. This is the famous knowledge that is there. I am representing it. Punarvyaktīkarishyāmi vacha uchārane vidhim. And we have Shiksha Shastras. We are talking about Shiksha Shastra for Vyakaranam. Shiksha Shastra is there for Ayurvedam. Shiksha Shastra for Sangeetam. Shiksha Shastra for Natyam. Shiksha Shastra for Vedam. So Shiksha Shastra for that body of knowledge again expands, focuses, zooms into that body of knowledge. How do you pronounce? How Ucharana is there? Because you can benefit that sound energy. And Paniniya Shiksha is science of sound. How sound originates. Bhashotpatti var Shastram. No body of knowledge or no language has explained how sound comes out. right? Panini clearly says that Atma Buddhya Sametyada Manoyunkte Vivakshaya Manah Kayagni Mahanti Sah Prerayati Marutam. Marutaha Urasi Charan Mandram Janayati Swaram. He beautifully explains. We'll be having couple more premieres just dwelling into 60 Paniniya Shiksha Sotras and he says that how you should pronounce, just like a lioness holds her cub strongly, but that strength does not hurt because she is holding through her teeth, right? Yatha Vyagri Haren Putran Damshtrabhyam Nacha Pidayet explains beautiful metaphors. So coming back to these are the tests that we need to make sure that is that AI aligned to the spirit of Sanatana Dharma and Sanskritam as a fundamental. This linear thinking means you are really going down in the wrong direction. And our chandas. See, Sanskritam is not a left to right leading language. So our AI models are very much driven on predicting the next best letter or a word at the most. They are not fully forming the sentence. So that is something that you need to make sure that when we take a Samskrita shloka, we have to first break it down. It's called Khandanmayam. You have to break it down into Namapadam and Kriyapadam. Then you have to rearrange them in a certain order for you to make sense. We have a project called Samskritamritam. I'll also show one example from that. So Dharmakshet, like everybody knows Bhagavad Gita. So we'll take one example from Bhagavad Gita and show how you need to rearrange the words in that shloka for you to have the meaningful interpretation. Like we touched on Chandas and Alankaras, because Chandas is a built-in encryption. Each Chandas, we have again multiple Chandas. We have Matra Chandas, we have Akshara Chandas, we have Gana Chandas. Does your AI understand and embrace? Otherwise, if you misinterpret one versus other, it will take the poetic liberty and then rearrange the pattern just to meet some other criteria, then the whole meaning and whole intent and whole the energy that is coming from that sound syllables will be lost, and that we say that we are getting unintended kind of results. So there is a concept called for those who are doing ML, data poisoning. So Ramayana was misunderstood, misinterpreted, because if you go back thousands of years, Ramayana used to have 300 commentaries. It is, I usually say that it's like a Swiss Army knife. You have so many tools, you need a manual to understand what is the tool and how to use it, because these are tools, toolkits, and frameworks for you to effectively take advantage of. Right now, only 4 commentaries on Ramayana are available. Tilaka Bhushana Kataka Dharmakuta Vyakhyanas. We have been fortunate under the guidance of Guru. We have studied few, exposed to few. But even this one was misinterpreted. Then Kalidasa wrote his epic Raghuvamsham to understand what is the foundation of Raghu Maharajas on which this Ramayana is built. That means if you understand the lineage and how they lived, his question also starts. He talks about 16 great noble qualities of Raghuvamsha Maharaja. On top of that, Valmiki is asking the question, what are the 16 great qualities of Rama or anybody living currently all the time with these qualities? Then you would beautifully connect these two. Coming back to those were misinterpreted 600 years ago, and that in current day context is called data poisoning. You will be surprised that exact word is used in Sanskritam by somebody from South, Mallinatha Suri. He is from Telugu region, but again, he is a Sanskrit scholar and he belongs to the entire world. And he found that this data poisoning of Raghuvamsha or Kalidasa's works have made the Saraswati, that knowledge in Raghuvamsham, fainted. He says that Bharati Kalidasasya Kuvyakya Vishamurchita. Visham is the poison, data poisoning. So she fainted. So she fainted, and I am writing my commentary and I am naming it as Sanjeevani. Sanjeevani Vivatikeyam Mallinathena Nirmita. His name is Mallinatha Suri. He is saying that I am doing it. You can ask your AI and say that Hanuman brought Sanjeevani Parvatam. Why he brought? Because he couldn't figure out which herb, right? That is the story that we all hear. But how many of us know that Ayurveda talks about several types of herbs that were there in that mountain? And one is Vishalya Karani. So, for fixing bones, and Sandhana Karani, if bones are disjointed, it will kind of rejoin them. Sanjeeva Karani, reviving people who are almost like dead without pulse, kind of. And then those scars, because war, right? Like you will go through so many things, even after fixing bones and all, you will have a lot of scars. Then it's called Saundarya Karani. So Hanuman went and brought the entire pharmacy, and he used it as much as needed, because he didn't take prescription and quantities for everyone on the ground, because he has an ability to go and restore it. He put it back. So this is what we are all not even scratching the surface, and we are saying that Sanuman was not smart enough to just grab that medicine and he brought that entire thing. No, whenever you call emergency, they will come with a toolkit and they will take the toolkit back, so that whatever medicine is needed by that person for reviving, or kind of defibrillator, or so there are few other things that are carried, so that based on the situation they can revive them and then take it back. So like that, coming back to this Sanjeevani is what we are going through right now. A lot of misinterpretations are there. AI should not cause another layer of misinterpretation for you. Rather, it should come and complement. So, just quickly going through few other concepts, and we'll get into the Q&A, is we have this misnomer saying that Ayurveda, of course, the word Ayurveda, right? Like you say that healthcare, we call it. Healthcare is a practice of keeping the healthy more healthy or sustain the health. But what we call current patient care as healthcare, that means you have some ailment, we wanted to kind of help you overcome that and become healthy. Whereas in Ayurveda, if you see that what is the ultimate purpose of Ayurveda is moksha. When you go to Sangeeta, ultimate purpose of Sangeeta is moksha. Ultimate purpose of Natya is moksha. Ultimate purpose of every form of art for us is moksha. I know that one of you are here. Like we were talking about Nyaya Shastra and Sthayi Bhava in Natya Shastra. The same thing is there in Kavya Sampradayam. We say that Rasotpadanam is the Parama Prayojana of Mahakavya. So, like that, all of these fundamental tenets is your AI embracing. Otherwise, you are up for a digital colonialization if you are depending on this AI to feed you, teach you. If you don't understand that Vidya Dadati Vinayam is the foundation for your AI, then your Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas will be becoming a mockery. AI can certainly support, because it can become text provider for you, and you can take advantage of it to provide a learning pathway and multilingual translation and access for remote learners. But you need to be careful that what are the data that your AI is trained on is something that you need to make sure that, because all of this is a point in time trained is the LLM, right? Like, does it have the retrieval augmentation, RAG kind of a thing? Is it leaning on the Shastras? See, I usually use this example and people relate. If you are in a country, you have the Bank of India, Bank of Canada, that federal bank dictates how banks should work. But nobody is reading the country's federal bank's policies and procedure. Every bank will establish their own policies and procedure. But when a new employee is joining, they are actually say that you are the best teller. They would say that go work with this teller to train. The teller will say that do KYC, know your customer first, and do this, and then you can help them with the transaction. But that first thing is called Shruti, that is Vedas. Nobody is reading now. Second thing is Smruti, bank policies and procedures. That is also nobody is reading. The third one is called Shishtacharam. That means a person who has this knowledge of federal procedures and bank procedures is going to teach you. That teaching, when you follow, cannot result in internal audit non-compliance when the bank policies and procedures are they followed in doing a particular transaction is tested. They should not result in a non-compliance. Similarly, when an external audit agency comes and say, if it is non-compliance, not just the branch, right, the entire bank will be shut down. So similarly, Shruti, Smruti, Purana, Itihasas is that lineage followed. And we also have top precedents. If the bank policies and procedures say something, but the federal regulations say something, you would all be quick to respond saying that federal procedure takes precedence. That's why we say that Shruti, Smruti, Virodhena. If there is a conflict between Shruti and Smruti, Shruti Reva Bhaliyasi. So Shruti holds the top position. So like that conflict resolution framework is there with that. But why conflict exists means interpretation at a different point in time was used. But when ultimate interpretation is sought, you need to make sure that how is that order of priority is taken. In a couple of minutes, we'll be wrapping up this and getting into the Q&A. Just making sure that AI generated spiritual content is safe for you to use, and make sure that they are supplemental and complemental. They are kind of helping you with scheduling, bringing a little bit of a fact, but they can help preserve for your study. They can also fairly represent, but you need to make sure that they are not against your values. Otherwise, you will be going down the wrong path like Malinada Sanjeevani as a restorer. So I would say that two things: that one call for action is Sanskritam we need to learn. Then we can better appreciate the structure of the knowledge that is there and the depth of the knowledge. Couple of quick examples in Sanskritam, right? Like we say that we have vibhakti, that means we have a very precise way of presenting that. When we talk about past tense, we don't have just past tense in Sanskritam. We have adhyatana, anadhyatana means just last 24 hours it happened or prior to that. Same thing in Bhavishya Kala also. Is it going to happen in the next 24 hours or after that? So somebody is talking, will you do this? They say yes. In English, yes doesn't have a timeline bound by it. In Sanskritam, when they say yes, it can mean whether they are committing to do it in the next 24 hours or later. Like that, it is very precise. When you talk about somebody, it says that whether they are at your arm's length in our like Mangalya Dharana and all during the Kalyanam means wedding, we say that Iyam Sita Mamasuta Sahadharma Charitava. That like when they are saying that Sita is sitting next to me. Esha means in the same room. Like that. The distance, even in the eyesight, are far away. Sa, the word that you use to describe that person, says that the geolocation of the person. So Sanskritam is very sophisticated. Just to begin with, it can be used to precisely articulate where you are. That is why when we talk about Hanuman, how precise was his articulation. Then Rama really admired, and then he said that if this person is with us, even the enemy can turn into a friend. That's why he's called Navavyakarana Pandita. And Buddhir Balam Yashodhairyam Nirbhayatvam Marogata Ajhadyam Vakpatutvancha Hanumasmaranad Bhavet. So we need to pray Hanuman to make sure that we are embarking on an AI complement track that doesn't derail our journey, but be a true complement. So again, there is a little bit of a fast tracking of the content that happened. Uh, Hope that this kind of created enough interest for you to embark on a study of your own. We will stay back for a Q&A. Similarly, we'll be doing another session on Sanskritam, just a premiere on Sanskritam. What is Sanskritam? What is the structure of the language? How can we start learning, and how can we do our own self-paced? But we always need to have some sort of a kind of a acharya padamadatte. Again, the word acharya itself represents, right? Achinoti cha shastrani. Somebody has studied that body of knowledge in a structured way. Acharanti, currently living and practicing. Prerayati. So pick an acharya in Samskrita who is doing what they preach, who has structurally studied that body of knowledge. That's why, wrapping up, we bow down to Samskrita Mata in all the eight vibhaktis, and Samskritam me priya bhasha, Samskritam chintayamyaham, Samskritena sadavachmi, Samskritaya cha jivanam, Samskritan me sthitam sarvam, Samskritasya vrati sada, Samskrite me dhudha bhaktihi, He Samskrita namostute.